Unbelievable. So it's crunch time, folks. It's crunch time. You know what that means, right? We got to get out tomorrow. We have to vote. All these thousands and thousands of people, you have to get out and vote because we have a movement going. We have something very special. No matter where you look, no matter these people behind you, you see them, the press. Look at all of them. It's like the Academy Awards. Like the Academy Awards. Hello, press. Hello, press. We love the press. We're hard on the press. I've called them so many different names. Tonight I'm going to say we love you, okay? So this is my last speech. I've made 4 of them today. We had thousands. We had, I guess, 8,000 at the first one. We have been packed every single one. And we have a movement going on that is so special. They're talking about it all over the world. Cover of Time magazine. You have to get it. Last week, cover of Time magazine, the greatest story you've ever seen. It's been incredible. 35,000 people in Alabama, 20,000 people twice in Oklahoma. We just left New Hampshire. We were packed every single venue. We had numbers that nobody else has ever had. And we're going to keep it going. But very important is tomorrow. You know, it all doesn't mean anything if we say, oh, let's stay home. Who knows what the numbers are? The polls are very nice, but who knows? We can't take a chance, right? Because we're going to make America great again, but we can't do that. We can't do that if you don't get out there tomorrow, all right? And the more we can do it and the more we can win by, the bigger the mandate, the better it is and the easier a job we're going to have, all right? So I want to thank you. I want to thank you. So this all began on June 16th, and who knew this was going to happen? I figured maybe I'd be in the pack and, you know, sort of, hey, I've won a lot over my life. I even win a lot of club championships. That's good, right? But I'm not going to be playing much golf, believe me. If I win this, I'm not going to be playing much golf. I'm not going to be playing, believe me. You know, winning club championships is hard. It takes something a little special. He understands that. Takes something a little bit different, a little bit special. By the way, a lot of people are pouring in. And you don't want me to start in a half an hour from now or an hour from now, so we're going to start. Folks, yeah, just come on back here. That's good. This is a nice room. See this room? You know what that ceiling reminds me of? The wall we're going to build. The wall. That's what it reminds me of. So we started on June 16th. I came down the escalator. I said to my wife, Melania, come on, let's go. Let's do it. And it takes guts. Running for president, I never did this stuff before. It takes guts. I didn't know this was going to happen. I thought we were going to do well. I thought it was going to be like a horse race. I'd be in the middle of the pack, and maybe by the very end, I'd inch it out. I didn't know we were going to be in this position. And the people of New Hampshire were unbelievable. I have to tell you, last week, we won every single category. We won rich, poor, fat, thin, tall, short. We won women. We won men. We won highly educated. We won smart people that don't have the big education, because that's what it is. We won every single category, and it was such an honor. They were incredible people. And you know what their biggest problem was? Every time I went around to New Hampshire, I talked to people. What's your biggest problem? Now, the vets, we're going to take care of our vets. We know that. We're going to take care of them. Common Core, we're going to end Common Core 100%. Going to end it. And we're bringing our education locally. You're going to educate your children like it's supposed to be, the old-fashioned way, no bureaucracy. You're going to educate them with love, the love of the parents. You're going to educate them locally, right? Second Amendment, they talk about the Second Amendment. We are going to protect our Second Amendment, believe me. We are going to protect it. If we had guns in Los Angeles, or frankly, where they have the toughest gun laws in the world in Paris, if they had guns on the other side with bullets going in the opposite direction, you wouldn't have had 130 people killed and many people right now destroyed. Their lives are destroyed. They're lying in the hospital. Some will die. If we had that, I'll tell you what, when you look at the 14 people killed in California, is that right? If guns were pointed in the opposite direction, you wouldn't have 14. These are two people. They were radicalized. She probably radicalized him. Nobody knows. Who cares? They were radicalized. Radical Islamic terrorism. So they were radicalized. They walk into people that gave them a wedding reception, people that gave them a baby shower, people that they knew. They killed 14, many in the hospital. If there were guns on the other side, pointed in the other direction, so the bullets are flying both ways, you wouldn't have had that kind of carnage. So we're going to protect our Second Amendment. But we're protecting our Second Amendment. But I will say this, and by the way, big story. You know, I said at my last speech, I said, Apple computer, Apple. Boycott Apple. We want the secrets. They don't want to open up the phones. Give me a break. Why wouldn't they want to do it? Why wouldn't they want to do it? They don't want to open up the phone. It's owned by the government. The phone is owned by government. What are they doing? Open up the phones. We have to be smart. We have to look and see what's going on. Let Apple open up the phones so that we find out where these threats are coming from. And I said, boycott Apple until they do it. Boycott them. Who cares? We have to be smart. We have to be vigilant. You know, there's so many enemies out there. We have to be so smart, so vigilant. Now, I will say this. So the New Hampshire experience to me was an amazing experience. But what was their big problem? So I'd go in. Their big problem, heroin, drugs. You look at New Hampshire, the most beautiful area, the most beautiful place. The greatest people, these people are great. Every place they're great. You're great. They're great. No matter where we go, the people of this country are unbelievable people. The potential of the people in our country, unbelievable. Now, with New Hampshire, remember this. They said to me, Mr. Trump, it's heroin. The drugs are pouring in. You would never think it. You can't even associate it. We're going to close up that border. We're going to build a wall. We're going to build a wall, and I owe them. No matter when I went, they talk about Common Core, they talk about everything, but what they really talk about is the tremendous drug explosion. And it just seems so strange because you look at it, it's so beautiful with the trees and the beautiful roadways and everything. And every meeting I went to, they talked about heroin. And it's pouring in from the southern border. And I said to him, you know what? I'm going to close up that border. I'm going to close up that border. And we're going to have a wall. It's going to be a real wall. It's going to be a great wall. It's going to be a beautiful wall because someday they're going to name it after Trump. I have to make sure it's beautiful. Right? And I owe it to them. And then there's so many people addicted. They're addicted to heroin. They're addicted to drugs. We're going to work on that so that they can get ideally unaddicted. We got to get them off it, but we've got to seal it up. We've got to stop it. And I made the promise to them. And that's a promise to the country. Some places don't have it as bad as that, but it's a promise to the country. So we're going to close up that wall. We're going to close up that border. We're going to let our Border Patrol people, they're phenomenal people. I was in Laredo, Texas. These are phenomenal people. We're going to work with them, let them do their job. Who said that? We're going to let them do their job. They called me. I didn't call them. They said, Mr. Trump, please come. We want to do our job. These are incredible people. They're told to stand back. Let people walk right in front of them. Stand back. Beautiful people. They've got the guns. They've got the weapons. They've got the whole thing. They can do whatever they have to do. They want to do it. And they're told to stand back. People walk in. People drive through the border, loaded up with drugs. We get the drugs. They get the cash. They drive back. We're going to run our country properly. We're going to run our country properly. Obamacare is a disaster. Obamacare is a disaster. Obamacare is going to be repealed and replaced. A big part of the problem we have, the people I'm running against and others, politicians in other words, they get funds, so much money. Jeb Bush gets $150 million. Gone. It's wasted. You could take it, and there's a window in here someplace. Throw it out that window right there, and it's going to do the same amount of good as what that money did. Other than these guys that work for him took commissions and made a fortune. This campaign stuff is unbelievable. They took money and spent it so fast because the guys that are spending that money are getting 10%, 15%, and maybe even 20%. So they're spending. I'm saying, why are they doing so many commercials on me? You know why? Because they get paid commissions to do commercials on me. Not even Jeb. Poor Jeb he probably doesn't even know this happens, okay? Guy doesn't have a clue. This guy doesn't have a clue. But they spend the money so fast because the guys that are in charge, the people that buy the ad, the managers, all these guys are making a fortune. They had one case, it was in the Los Angeles Times, where a certain candidate raised $6 million. Very impressive, right? After the commissions and after all of the money went by, out of the $6 million, how much was left? $140,000. $140,000, okay? $6 million they raised, $140,000 was left. This is a crooked business, folks. This is a crooked business. So here's the story. I'm self-funding my campaign. Good? All right? Self-funding. I'm putting my own money in. And I guess by the end of this month, I'm going to have like $25 million in this thing. I'll tell you what. I spent in New Hampshire $3 million. Jeb Bush spent $47 million. I ended up in first place with a landslide. Jeb Bush was toward the bottom of the pack. Isn't this the way we're supposed to be running our country? Right? 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 You know, in the school stuff. So out of the top 30 in the world, meaning 30 countries, we're number one in cost per pupil by far, right? Number one. So high that number two doesn't even exist. You have Norway, Denmark, Sweden, China. These are the best countries in terms of education, right? These are ranked the top 4 or 5. Great countries, great education. They spend a fraction of what we do. We're number 30 out of 30. So we're number 30, and yet we're number one in money spent by far. I'm telling you, the difference in between 1 and 2 is number 2 is so far away you can't even see it. We got to change, all right? We got to change. We got to do like my campaign. I spent the least and I have the best result. We got to do that. No. Just got to do it. We got to do it. We got to do it. So you look at it, and it's so much. I mean, it's so much. There's so many things we can do. Here's another thing. Recently, a doctor comes up to me. Good guy, smart guy. Although he's going to leave the profession, he said he has more under Obamacare. He has more nurses. Think of it. In terms of nurses, more nurses than he ever had because he got bigger. But now he's got more accountants than he has nurses. He said, this never happened to me before. It's so complicated. It's so bad. You know it's going to die of its own volition. It's going to die in 17, unless the Republicans bail him out. They're constantly bailing Obama out. All right? It's going to die. But this guy comes up, good guy, good doctor, highly respected. He said, you know, Donald, the drug industry, pharmaceuticals, we're the largest purchaser of drugs in the world, the United States, by far. We don't bid. I said, what are you talking about? We don't bid. We don't bid the cost of drugs. We don't bid it out. If we bid it out, we would save approximately $300 billion, okay? $300 billion. So my friend said, why is that? At first it took me about 20 seconds to say, really, we don't? But then as soon as I did it, I realized why. Because the politicians that I'm running against and others are getting tremendous campaign contributions from the pharmaceutical industry, the drug industry. And they don't want to have bidding. If we did a favored nations clause, just forget about bidding. Whatever that company pays for certain medicine, the United States pays the lowest price of any company buying during that year period or 2-year period. You pay the lowest price. Remember, favored nations. And I'd say lowest price less 10%, right? We're a huge buyer. Okay, I'm being nice when I say 10%. We would save $300 billion. We don't do it because these guys are all getting money. Woody Johnson is the head of Johnson & Johnson, is the head of Bush's fundraisers. He's the campaign chairman. No, think of it. Ted Cruz, who lies more than any human being I have ever seen. I have never seen any human being lie. Look what he did to Ben Carson. Look what he did with this crazy voter violation form. Ted Cruz, he lies more than any human being. Now, Ted Cruz, take a look at who's giving him the money. The oil industry, Wall Street. He puts down on his form, no loans. He doesn't put down the loans. He doesn't put down the banks because he's telling all the people that he's Robin Hood. He's going to protect them from Wall Street, big bad Wall Street. He's going to protect them. He doesn't say that he has $1 million loan with Goldman Sachs. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't say that the interest rate on that loan is practically nothing. You would like to have it. Believe me, you would like to have it. These people, I mean, it's all of them. It's not just Ted Cruz, it's all of them. And the reason our country is messed up, one of the big reasons, is the fact that they're all taken care of by every industry. Whether it's the automobile industry, you want to bring Ford back from Mexico, they'll tell you why you can't bring Ford back, because they get campaign contributions, they can't bring Ford back. You're right. He's right. Okay, now look, so I'm self-funding. When I want to bring somebody back, I bring them back. Nobody's going to call me and say, you can't do it. Let me give you an example. So the other day, I'm watching television, and I see somebody with the cell phone, the crazy cell phones where you watch. I'm watching television, and I see Carrier. I buy air conditioners from Carrier and many others. I won't buy any more from Carrier, by the way. And they're firing everybody from Carrier, 1,400 people, great jobs. They've been there for many years. They're firing these people. Why? Because they're moving to Mexico. Oh, great, great. How does that help us? How does that help us? They're moving to Mexico. They're going to make air conditioners in Mexico. They're going to sell them on the border. They're going to sell them, boom. They're going to sell them to the United States. We get nothing. We lose our jobs. We close our factories. Mexico gets all of the work. We get nothing. Now, you probably heard some of these really not smart people say, Donald Trump is not a true conservative. He is not a conservative. I'm very conservative. I'm the most conservative person in the world on the border. I'm the most conservative person in the world with respect to getting rid of Common Core. I'm the most conservative person in the world with getting rid of Obamacare. I'm the most conservative person in the world having to do with our military and rebuilding our military and taking care of our vets. But they say, they take commercials. Donald Trump, and I get a kick. I watch these guys. Watch stiffs. Oh. Many of these guys in private industry, they wouldn't be able to get a job. And they're running the country. But, Jesus, they're idiots. But think of it. So they're saying he's not a conservative president. Let me just tell you something. I believe in free trade, but it's got to be smart trade. It's got to be trade with China. With China this year, we're going to lose trade deficit $500 billion. With Japan, we're going to lose a tremendous amount of money. They send their cars here like it's candy. Okay? Millions of cars we get. We send them wheat. We send them nothing. We send them sometimes cattle. And they don't accept it because their farmers don't want it. They don't want anything from us. So they send it back. That's right. So we take in from Japan. That was very good. I like that. That was very, okay, it's enough, but it's enough. Okay. Never overstay. Do you understand? He was getting ready to do it again. I don't want to hear it. Look. So we send them wheat. We send them cattle. They don't want our cattle, so they send it back. It goes back and forth, back and forth. Finally, they accept it. They call it Kobe beef because it's aged. I mean, the stuff is rotted. No, it's like rotted. So because it's aged, it's decaying, it's disgusting, they call it Kobe beef, and they charge you 10 times more for it. You tell me they're not smart? That's Japan. Japan is killing us. Komatsu, look at what they're doing to Caterpillar. A friend of mine is an excavator. He buys excavating equipment, right? He goes out and he buys excavating equipment. I say, what are you doing? You're not buying Caterpillar. I can't. They have cut the yen. They have devalued their currency to such an extent. First time in his life, he's buying excavation equipment from Komatsu. I said, what's the difference? He said, they're both good. Caterpillar's better, but this is good enough. I owe it to my family. I owe it to my wife. I owe it to my employees, my company. I understand what he's saying. They've devalued their currency. Take a look at Caterpillar stock. Take a look at what's happening to Caterpillar. It's happening to all of us. Right here, you have Boeing. Boeing is being forced to build a massive plant in China, a number of massive plants. Folks, let me just tell you something. Unless I'm president, you watch what happens. Won't happen with me because I know the game better than any human being that's ever lived. Nobody knows it better. Nobody. Unless I'm president, within a few years, they're going to make all their planes in China. They're going to devalue their currency even more. They're the kings of devaluation. Nobody knows currency manipulation better than China. Nobody. Okay? And all of a sudden, you're going to say, our nice new plant, we're not doing any planes. Then they're going to start doing the layoffs, and here we go again. We've got to get smart on trade. Now, when I came down the escalator at Trump Tower, and I went all in front of these people. I came down that escalator. Let me just tell you something. It started with trade and it started with the border. And then they had that horrible incident in France, in Paris. And all of a sudden the border became more important. And CNN did polls and it said, they love us, Trump. They love Trump for the military because he's the toughest on the border. Sheriff Joe, Joe Arpaio. Sheriff Joe endorsed me. When Sheriff Joe endorses you, you're the toughest on the border. So Sheriff Joe Arpaio endorsed, and it was sort of an amazing event. You want to know the truth. By the way, great endorsement. Jerry Falwell Jr., unbelievable, Liberty University. Jerry sees every single candidate come through Liberty University. Every candidate goes through Liberty University. He endorsed Donald Trump. I want to tell you, that was a great honor. Sarah Palin. Everybody wants Sarah's endorsement. A great woman and I'll tell you what, that is a great person endorsed Donald Trump. So, we're going to have the borders and we're going to have our trade. When we started, I talked about borders. I talked about trade. I'm really good at the trade. I'm really good at the borders. When Paris happened, everybody started saying, we want Trump. The polls came in 60%, 70%, 72%. This is 72% with 17 people running. Now we're down to 6. We got rid of all these people. It's so great. It's so great. But we had 60%, 70%. So in terms of the military, in terms of the border, in terms of all of these things, the economy, I expect. But everything was Trump, except for personality. I didn't do as well on personality. It's true. It's true. And you know what? It's true. Personality was a little lower than the economy. But if you had your choice of having somebody with a wonderful personality but was bad on jobs, bad on the economy, bad on security, bad on the border, bad on the wall, I'll take the guy with the wall. I'll take the guy with the economy, okay? Believe me. And I'm also a nicer guy than many of these people running. That I can tell you. That I can tell you. I've gotten to know them. They actually came up, because, we're going to build the wall. Who's going to pay for the wall? Quickly, who's going to pay? So one of these guys running against me, Donald, first of all, you can't build a wall. I said, really? Why can't we? He said, well, I don't know. Can you do that? 15 years ago, they wanted to build a wall, and they couldn't do it because the environmental impact statement for the wall, they couldn't get it approved because there were rodents, snakes, rats, all sorts of stuff in the way. They couldn't get it. They had frogs. They had snails. It's true. Go look. They couldn't get an environmental impact statement approved. Oh, I'm so good at environmental impact statements. Now you have South China Sea. You have China building a massive fortress with massive runways for the biggest military planes in the world. And they've got those excavators. They're not caterpillars, by the way, I have to tell you. And they're digging and they're taking and they're ripping the hell out of that ocean. They're ripping it and ripping and rip. And they're building an island in the South China Sea. And that's going to be a military fortress. And they're not supposed to be doing that, but they have absolutely no respect for our president. They have no respect for our country, so they're doing it. And I said to a friend of mine from China, because actually I do a lot of business with China. They're fine to do business with. I make a lot of money with China. It's very good. If you know what you're doing, you can make a fortune with China. They buy my apartments. I have the biggest bank in the world in one of my buildings in Manhattan in China. Biggest bank in the world, 400 million customers. Think of that. That's more than the people we have in this country. 400 million customers, biggest bank in the world. But I do business with China. So I said to my friend jokingly, I said, when you started excavation, you're building that tremendous island in the middle of the South China Sea. Did you get an environmental impact statement? He said, actually, Donald, no. They came up with the idea on Friday at 4 o'clock. And they started excavation on Saturday morning, okay? True. He said that. He said they came up with it. They started excavation about 3. I mean, we're dealing in a different world, folks. During the debate, the second debate, I love the last debate. Some people said he was too rough. Me. I mean, that's better than some of the others that are too weak. But they said Donald was... And others, but I have to say, Drudge, who's an amazing guy, Drudge does a poll, Time Magazine, I won every single poll for the debate, right? But no, some people said it wasn't my best, I was too tough, but I got like 7 people coming at me from every side. Am I supposed to be nice? That's the problem with our country, we're too nice. They say tone. Hillary Clinton said, I don't like Donald Trump's tone. I don't like his tone. They're chopping off heads in the Middle East of our people. They're chopping off heads of Christians. They're chopping off heads of everybody. They're drowning people 30 at a time in cages. And she goes, I don't like his tone. So they asked Ted Cruz, who's standing right here. I was always in the center, by the way. He's here. Another one's here. I've been in the center every single debate. Nice, right? It's called, no, not easy. Somebody said, that's amazing. Every single debate. I heard Ted's a good debater. I said, he is a good debater, but he can't talk, okay? Bad talker. He's a good debater, bad talker. So he's over here. They asked him about waterboarding. They said, Senator Cruz, what do you think of waterboarding? Oh, I don't want to talk about it. He didn't want to talk about waterboarding because too controversial. And I'm saying to myself, they're chopping off heads. He doesn't want to talk about waterboarding. Then they look at me and they say, what do you think about waterboarding? Now, I didn't poll it. I have more money than all of them put together 25 times, but I don't need a pollster. You know what? These guys do my polling for me. The networks, every day they come out with a new poll. What do you think of Donald Trump's hair? What do you think of his this? What do you think of his that? I mean, I learned more about myself. What do I have to spend money? They spend millions of dollars, the networks, on polling. 2 minutes after it comes out, I get things this thick, things I never even knew about myself. Then they say, how much do you pay your pollster? You get them for free. They do it for free. They say, how much do you pay your pollster, Mr. Trump? I say, nothing. I don't have a pollster. The networks are my pollsters. Every day I get a new poll. I have so much. I'm so busy I can't read them anyway. But I've learned a lot. These guys they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. So Ted Cruz couldn't poll it. So he didn't know how to answer the question. He was mumbling and bumbling. And she goes, well, it's waterboarding. Well, he's thinking it's going to be terrible to say I'm in favor of waterboarding, meaning he's in favor of waterboarding. So he goes, well, I'd like to. You got to see it. You got to see it. Then they say, Mr. Trump. Now I'm thinking to myself, they chop off heads. Not since medieval time. James Foley. Not since medieval times do they chop off heads. Chop off heads. Who the hell ever heard of this? We're in now the worst period of maybe ever. Medieval times. Boom. I loved history when I was in high school. And I'd read about medieval times. Boom, boom, chop off heads. When was the last time you heard about chopping off heads? Now they chop off heads. Okay, so now they look at me. Mr. Trump, how do you feel about waterboarding? They think I'm going to say, oh, it's a terrible thing. It's so horrible. It's so mean. It's so terrible. In fact, it's supposed to be, the big question is it torture or not? In other words, it's so borderline. It's like your minimal torture. So they said, Mr. Trump, I'd like you to answer the question, how do you feel about waterboarding? I said, I feel great about it. I feel great. I said, I feel great. And then I said something that got me in a minor bit of trouble because it wasn't politically correct. I said, but I think we should go much, much, much further than waterboarding. I said, we have an enemy in the Middle East, ISIS and others, that are chopping off people's head and drowning people in steel cages. They leave them under there for 40 minutes and they pull it up, right? Can you imagine these people when they sit around at night eating whatever they're eating and talking, and they're talking about the United States, that they're actually worried about waterboarding as being a little bit cruel. And these people chop off heads. They must think we are the dumbest and the weakest and the stupidest people on earth. On earth. On earth. I read a story. It's a terrible story, but I'll tell you. Should I tell you or should I not? Early in the century, last century, General Pershing. Did you ever hear? Rough guy. And they had a terrorism problem. And there's a whole thing with swine and animals and pigs, and you know the story, okay? They don't like that. And they were having a tremendous problem with terrorism. And by the way, this is something you can read in the history books. Not a lot of history books because I don't like teaching this. And General Pershing was a rough guy. And he sits on his horse and he's very astute like a ramrod, right? And the year was early 1900s. And this was a terrible problem. They were having terrorism problems just like we do. And he caught 50 terrorists who did tremendous damage and killed many people. And he took the 50 terrorists and he took 50 men and he dipped 50 bullets in pig's blood. You heard that, right? He took 50 bullets and he dipped them in pig's blood. And he had his men load his rifles and he lined up the 50 people. And they shot 49 of those people. And the 50th person, he said, you go back to your people and you tell them what happened. And for 25 years, there wasn't a problem. Okay? 25 years, there wasn't a problem. All right? So we better start getting tough, and we better start getting vigilant, and we better start using our heads, or we're not going to have a country, folks. We're not going to have a country. So, what? It is. I love this country. That's why I'm doing this. I love this country. We want to keep this country. We want to keep this country. We want to make, look, I'll tell you something. I've been saying something because I've been meeting so many people, millions and millions of people. One of the reporters today, a great reporter, television reporter, said to me, I've been doing this, Mr. Trump, for 20, and he didn't say this on the record, and I wouldn't tell his name, but he said, I've been doing this for 25 years. In 25 years, sir, I have never, ever, ever seen anything like what's happening with you and with your people. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. And a great compliment. And I'm the messenger. We're all together. And we're all together. And honestly, when you go to Dallas or when you go to Oklahoma, when you go to New Hampshire, when you go to Iowa, when you go to New York, to any place, the people are unbelievable. And I've been saying this for the last 2 or 3 weeks. When I say make America great again, I'm adding now, and we can make America great again, but I think we can make America greater than ever before. Greater than ever before. We have such incredible potential. No, we have such incredible potential. And I want to see the day when Apple makes its product on our land, not over in China. Because I'm bringing our jobs back from China, folks. We're going to bring them back. We're going to bring our jobs back from Mexico, folks. We're going to have Ford built here. We're not going to have Ford built in Mexico. We're going to bring our jobs back. Vietnam is a new one. We're going to bring our jobs back to this country. We're going to be so proud. I'll tell you what I want. We're going to be so proud. And we're going to have a military that's going to be so advanced and so wonderful. And we're going to buy the right product. We're going to buy the product that the generals want, not that the politicians want. And you're going to remember this evening. And you're going to say in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years or 1 year. But you're going to say that I was there for an evening where Donald Trump, representing all of us, made a speech, and I voted for Donald Trump the next day. And our country started winning again. We don't win anymore. Our country started winning again. We started winning with our military. We can't beat ISIS, folks. We can't beat ISIS. We won with our military. We'll knock the hell out of them. We won with our veterans. We're going to take care of our veterans. We won with education. We won with the Second Amendment. We won with the border. And yeah, we're going to have a really strong border. And we're going to have people come into our border. We're going to have people, that big, beautiful door right through the middle of that wall. But they're going to come in legally. They're going to come in legally. And you're going to remember this evening. And you're going to remember tomorrow, because you have to go out and vote. No matter how you feel, I don't care. It doesn't matter if you think you're not going to make it through the day. You've got to go out and vote tomorrow. I don't want your money. I don't want your money. We want your vote. Got to do it. And you're going to say to yourselves, that was one of the great evenings and one of the great days of your lives, because we're going to make you so proud of your country. You're going to be very proud of your president, but you're going to be so proud of your president. You're going to be so proud of your president, but you're going to be so proud of your country, because we're going to start winning again. We're going to become the smart country, not the country that makes an Iran deal where we give them $150 billion. We're going to become the smart country, and we're going to become a truly, truly great country again. I love you, folks. We're going to start winning. We're going to win. And we're going to make America great again. Thank you, everybody. I love you. Thank you. I love you.